What's up, everyone? This is Kronos, aka Adam, back with another WWE Week in Review. I just posted my AEW Week in Review, so I'll have a link at the end of this. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Social media is down there. So as always, what I like to do is I like to go over everything that happened in the world of WWE from Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. If some things from the outside come in, I'll try to talk about them a little bit, just because I'm not a journalist. Obviously there's been a lot of stuff going on with the no third party stuff. That's kind of being hashed out, being more clarified, and right now it's still kind of unknown exactly what they're going to be doing. So I don't want to get too far into that. So anyway, we're going to go through Raw first. So let's get into Raw. So apparently Cole was filling in for Tom Phillips this week. I just started hearing his voice and I was kind of wondering, what happened. They're saying he's off this week. Okay. Normally you don't really see people get those vacations. So we get Orton down in the ring, nonsense rematch against Lee tonight, which I agree. He beat everyone, yet still has to face Lee again. The longer we do this, the more likely you're going to get kicked in the head. He's addressing Lee now. Rumor is Drew might not make it to Clash of Champions after he got his jaw messed up. If Drew can't go, Orton should just be handed the title. Drew drives up in an ambulance. He then hits a Claymore on Orton and leaves. Just straight up, look pretty badass. Her Business are showing up earlier today. MVP is talking about something with twin sisters. They start abusing the janitor, saying, what'd you say about Shelton's mom? It's like, you call me a liar? No. So then what'd you say? Nothing. Well, you call me a liar? No. Back and forth. So then they just kind of kick him in the balls, kind of abuse him. So once again, we get Apollo, Ricochet, and Cedric versus the Hurt Business. So at first my thought was why? They've had 9 matches already. It's ridiculous. Backstage, Adam Pearce confronts Drew. Drew says, they say that Drew isn't even cleared. Retribution is bad enough, so he asks him to please leave. Says no more invited guests to the security. So then they take out Cedric during his entrance. Apollo attacks Lashley before the bell. Her Business take control on Apollo. Shelton with another cheap shot on Cedric. Cedric then starts attacking Ricochet on the outside, just tossing him into the barricade, just wildly. Comes in, hits the lumbar check on Apollo Crews, lets Hurt Business get the win. Cedric's on the apron smiling and nodding and Hurt Business, but there's no interaction between them, so we don't know exactly what's going on. Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. Once again. Andrade and Zelina walk right past Angel after last week. He left them. Angel with the slap tag on Andrade. Angel arguing with Zelina on the outside. He won't tag him because he's arguing with Zelina. Andrade comes in, is yelling at them, goes back into the rings, gets hit with the spine buster, the frog splash. So Street Profits get the win. Cesaro and Shinsuke show up. Cole mentions that the Brand Invitational gets mentioned again for the first time in months because it was so stupid. They think that Street Profits playing with ninjas and not defending their titles. Apparently Cesaro says that it's a quarterly brand-to-brand invitational, and they'll challenge him next week to a champions versus champion. Cesaro, then there was some really corny line about Cesaro having so many partners that he needs an STD test. Street Profits accept. It was just I didn't like this segment at all. The whole idea of the brand-to-brand invitational. If anything, why wouldn't you do this at Clash of Champions? Just so much. Earlier today, Truth in a restaurant, talking to Jimmy, showing pics of past 20... Jimmy, if you know Truth, he had this imaginary friend named Jimmy, showing pictures of past 24/7 skits, gets desserts, but the ninjas show up, they fight, and one of them is underneath the serving tray. He's in the cart. He fights them off, runs off with the cart, says, this is not how to get on diners, drive-ins, and dives. I think that's when he said that. Anyway, so then we get unannounced, just, another thrown together match. Peyton versus Billy. So Peyton gets the new music and entrance, same for Billy. Cole says, shouldn't they be more emotional about the split? And I'm like, they were crying in the ring. They posted heartfelt messages to one another. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. It makes zero sense. So we get the spinning heel kick by Peyton for a 2 count. Joe says he usually betrays his friends in some way, but it always works out, which is pretty funny. We get the spinning neck breaker by Peyton for the win. They hug it out after, so I don't know exactly what they're doing. Basically, it just seems like they're jobbing out Billy because they have this big idea for Peyton, even though I don't see Peyton as a main eventer, at least not yet, or really contending against a lot of these different women. Obviously the fact that they're in a tag team, it makes up for some of the lack of skills that they have, even though, like I've said, they've gotten a lot better, and I enjoy watching them. I just think solo, I don't understand what they're going to be doing with that. Another Seth Mysterio family recap. Shot of Mysterio family showing up to the arena. We've seen this recap. I could almost tell you by heart what I'm going to see every time. Recap of Orton and Drew. In-ring interview with the Mysterio family. No update on the torn tricep yet. Ray is confident and proud of his son. Buddy interrupts, says, "Hey, here on the Tron." As it where else are they gonna be looking? Dom's fault. Seth turned his back on him. Ray says it's not his fault. It's not their fault that he decided to follow Seth. Buddy challenges Dom to a street fight. He'll embarrass him in front of his Messiah. Buddy wants the family at ringside. Dom says he touches them, it'll be the last breath he takes. I don't know. I think he's got to work on his mic skills a little bit, but, we're set for a match. Again. Backstage, Pierce is talking to Nia and Shayna. Nia said that each of them should have a handicap match against the Riot Squad tonight. Feels like the squad will be getting buried. That's what I thought right then. Drew walks by. Pierce confronts him about leaving. Said he couldn't understand. I couldn't understand a word that he said, but it was something about he couldn't find his phone or something. And as soon as he finds his phone, he'll leave. But he tells Pierce to relax. We get Asuka and Mickie James versus Lana and Natalya. So we get Asuka will face Mickie James for the Raw title next week as opposed to the Clash of Champions. I don't get that unless there's gonna be some kind of wonk finish, and then they'll get a multi-person match. I feel like Asuka is kind of, over the last couple of weeks, has just been kind of non-existent. They especially now with Sasha and Bayley no longer in the mix, it's what is she doing? She's not even there. And then they're having her involved with Mickie James and Lana and Natalya. So it feels like, it's almost like a step down when she's been almost pretty much the MVP of the empty arena shows. Asuka and James continue to argue throughout the match. Asuka misses a hip attack. James slaps her ass. To tag in. Isolation on James. Hot tag to Asuka and immediately taps out Lana. Watch. Wow. Cool. Recap of Cedric and the Hurt Business. Cedric comes out, says he wants to make it official on the MVP Lounge. Shelton says, holds back and goes to Cedric, just between the two of them, says this better not be a game. If it is, if it was a lousy spoiler. So we get to the MVP Lounge. Cedric is out with them. He said he'd rather learn about beatdowns than catch them. He's going broke running with Apollo and Ricochet. Viking Raiders come out, and then Apollo and Ricochet come out. Brawl breaks out. We know where this is going, and sure enough, 8-man tag, Raiders, Apollo, and Ricochet versus Hurt Business and Cedric Alexander. We get a fun splash by Ivar on MVP for 2 count. Cedric is taunting the other side. Cedric and Ricochet start a slugfest. Everyone comes in for them. Apollo awfully misses Shelton with an enziguri. Ivar hits a suicide dive, which apparently throws up the X right away. So I've heard mixed stuff, but according to WWE, it was a stinger, not a leg injury. But he's going to be all right, but obviously, stop doing suicide dives, bro. You're 300 pounds. You don't even do them that well. It's impressive that you can even do it at all, but they don't even look that great, and look what happens. And then Cedric hit a Michinoku driver on Ricochet, and it looks like Ricochet kicked out. It looks like they rushed the finish there just because of the injury. That's what I'm assuming they did. But obviously, they could then play it into storyline that Ricochet kicked out. It does look like on a replay that Ricochet did kick out. Staff checking on Ivar. This is just a mess of a match. Tired. Sorry, it's morning, early. Charlie catches up with Drew. She says, weren't you leaving? He says, he grabbed the wrong phone, and now he can't seem to find the exit. But don't worry, he'll leave. Our first look at Raw Underground, Shane giving the rundown to the bouncer. KO shows up. Shane says, what happened in the past is water under the bridge. KO still calls him a jackass, goes in. Another Orton-Drew recap. We get Orton versus Lee. Orton trying to keep his distance, selling the jaw injury from earlier. Orton goes for an RKO. Lee just stands there. The RK no, as I've been calling it. Orton evades Lee, who charges into the barricade. Just beats the count out. Orton counters Spirit Bomb into an RKO. Drew comes in with another Claymore out of nowhere. I want you to see me in your nightmares, you son of a bitch. That's what Drew says, which is pretty cool. Back to Raw Underground. We got Aleister versus KO. Aleister knocks some jobber out. KO shows up and they brawl. Spills out to the ring. Shane runs up and says that's it. We'll be right back. So you figure, okay, the match is over. As usual, they do some stupid stuff like that. Pierce is backstage apologizing to Orton. For what it's worth, Drew is gone. And Orton says, you know what, your word means nothing to me. Shayna versus the Riot Squad, 2-on-1. Liv rolls up Shayna for the win when she's distracted by Nia. I thought this was really stupid. Shayna drawing at Nia to distract. Nia is laughing at ringside. We get another shot at Raw Underground. Aleister and KO are still fighting. Glad they didn't end this. Aleister has an armbar. KO slides out of the ring, swings Aleister into a wall. They both start fighting off randoms. Shane says to get back in the ring. We then go back to Nia versus the Riot Squad. Shane is talking trash to Nia. Nia goes for arm stomp on Ruby like Shayna does, but misses. Nia has Ruby up for a Samoan drop. Blind tag by Liz. The lights start to flicker, then they go out. The Retribution logo comes up on all the screens. Now there's only 5 members with voice modulators. One had to be Mia Yim. The other had to be Dijak. It just seems so obvious. Thunderdome is a facade. Same foundation who left us to survive. They'll lay waste. Dijak just with really over-the-top promo. But I just don't get it because neither of them were cut. So that, if that's what they're getting at, it makes no sense. So, we'll see. Sarah with the backstage interview with Mysterio's. Buddy thinks great to family. Thinks great to family. Thinks having the family out there will scare them away. They know how to handle themselves. Buddy then shows up being a creep. Back to Raw Underground. We still got KO and Aleister fighting. KO with the stiff double stomp. We get both get into fall into Babakato. He chokeslams them both. Shane ends it. So I didn't even get that. Babakato is now apparently enough to beat Aleister and Kevin Owens by himself. Backstage, Randy's leaving the building. He's in pain. Drew attacks again in that mock ring that they have backstage. Pushes Randy's face against the turnbuckle. Then another Claymore. Randy gets taken away in an ambulance. Adam Pearce and Pat Buck are there, so I haven't seen them together at the same time, so that's cool. We got a street fight between Dom and Buddy, so that is the main event. Wow, I'm gonna go long on this. Ray and Dom and Aaliyah with the kendo sticks come out. Murphy hits a V-trigger, sends Dom to the barricade. Dom sent into commentary. Murphy then sent over the commentary desk. Joe, I don't see... Do I have a bullseye on me? Because it was funny because they kept getting thrown at him. Dom dives off the screens with the crossbody, which was cool. Fight up and down the ramp. Dom slammed into the ramp on the back of his head. That looked rough. Buddy tries to do the eyes and the stairs thing. Buddy with chair shots on the outside gets him in for a 2 count. Dom hip tosses Buddy over the top of the ring. Dom posted 3 times. And we get Dom tied up in the ropes. Dom kicks and Ray takes the kendo stick. Mom insists free Dominic. He does this crazy sliding sunset flip powerbomb through a table that was perched up against commentary. Buddy kicks out at 2. Buddy is in the ropes now. He gets beat with the kendo stick. The whole family comes in. He says, that's enough, I'm done, and quits. Meanwhile, the whole family is now taking turns beating him up. They pummel him to end the show. I thought it was a really cool visual. I like the Mysterios getting the upper hand finally. I always say you never really get to see the faces get that kind of retribution. No pun intended. Okay, so then we get NXT Super Tuesday number 2. I forgot to mention last week that Mauro Ranallo is gone from NXT, which really sucks because he was just awesome. He was one of the best. Sometimes it can get a little bit grating, but like overall, no one called a match like Mauro Ranallo. We start off with the NXT Championship match, Finn versus Cole, after the 4-way Iron Man match only yielded a tie between Finn and Cole. They probably want to end with the cage match, which was what they did. So we get a stalemate early on, headlocks for Finn, hammerlocks for Cole. Cole in control through picture-in-picture. Finn then takes control, gets a cut on his chest, which looked rough. Cole with the pump kick, enziguri, and then a backstabber, only gets a 2 count. Shotgun drop kick by Finn, countered with the Shining Wizard for a 2 count. Baseball drop kick sends Cole into the barricade. Finn goes for a drop kick on Cole while he's sitting down by the timekeeper's area. He hits a super kick to counter it. Slugfest during picture-in-picture. Finn misses a coup de grace. Super kick to the knee by Cole. Figure 4, but Finn gets to the ropes. Coup de grace, but Finn hurts his knee while he goes down. Cole kicks out. Commentary's going nuts as if this is the first time anyone's ever kicked out. They say no one kicks out of the coup de grace, which I don't think is the case. We get another figure 4 by Cole. Breaks to pull him back into the middle of the ring. We then get a small package by Finn for a 2 count. Super kick and a last shot, but only gets a 2 count by Cole. Inverted 1916, but he can't cover. They start fighting to the top. Then Finn hits a 1916 from the top turnbuckle, inverted, or no, not inverted, just regular, I think, right? Yeah, a regular. Okay, so he hits that, which was a pretty wild spot, and for the win, your new NXT champion, only the 3rd person to be 2-time NXT champion with Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura. It was the right call. We show them backstage, everyone's congratulating him. Cole even comes up, show respect. They do a 2-sweet to each other, which I thought was really cool. We get a Rhea promo. Mercedes trying to make a name for herself at Rhea's expense. That's not going to happen tonight. While the celebration of Finn is going on, Robert Stone pulls Mackenzie away. She's like, "Why are you pulling me away?" Says, I know things. I know where things are. Brings her to Shotzi's tank. I was about to hit it with a pipe. And then Shotzi comes out. They start, and then Aaliyah jumps her. They start fighting. She gets thrown through a curtain. Aaliyah hits Io. She starts running off. She runs into the ring, gets beat up by both of them. Stone tries to jump from the top rope. Shotzi pushes her Io out of the way and punches Robert Stone in the stomach. They hit stereo moonsault and a senton. Shotzi holds the title, gives it to Io, and then Io, grabs it from her and says, "Don't make me hurt you." So obviously we're going to get some kind of Shotzi-Io match, which should be really good. Candice telling Johnny they're at the house. She needs her friend back. Johnny's laying on the fakeness. No pizza this time. She's like, "Hey, listen, so Tegan's like, oh, sorry, that was just," he's like, don't worry about it. Nice to see that she's dressed for the occasion. She's wearing, they're all dressed up and she's wearing shorts and a t-shirt. So they go, "Let's talk," goes to commercial. Thatch Can, film study, know your enemy, Damian Priest, shits on Priest, you leave your legs, you do this, you do that. We then get Velveteen Dream versus Ashanti the Adonis. Apparently he was the old Tahuti Miles. Adonis is in control early. He almost super kicks the ref. Dream hits an eye poke and then a Dream Valley driver for the win. Kushida then comes out, attacks Dream, yanks Dream into the post twice, armbar through the ropes. And it's funny because I just said before with Dominic giving the face the chance to get advantage like that, this is with Kushida, being the face. We then get a Breezango interview. Fandango goes to throw the title over his shoulder, drops it. It was kind of funny. It smells like gold and baby oil. They talk about Imperium. They have no sizzle, and they have a match for the titles next week. I think it's against them. Back at the Garganos, they're eating dinner. Johnny says, "This is awkward, isn't it? It's me, isn't it?" And then so he takes the dog and he leaves. Candice says to Tegan that she should fess up to her mistakes. Says, why don't you understand the Gargano way? I was always the big sister, always steered you down the right path, right? Why would this be any different? What do you have to lose? Tegan looks intrigued, looking like she's maybe coming around. Bronson Reed versus Austin Theory. I actually like Austin Theory's Tron kind of entrance. I thought it was pretty cool. Theory goes for a kick, Reed moves. Springboard elbow drop by Reed. We get a sunset flip. And then Reed just sits down on him for a 2 count. Reed hits a suicide dive on the outside. Theory dropped hold into the turnbuckle for the advantage during picture-in-picture. Reed with a Death Valley driver for a 2 count. And then we get Theory with a blockbuster for a 2 count. Eventually, Reed makes his way up to the top, hits the splash on Theory's back, which he had been working over throughout the match, for the win. So obviously they're keeping Bronson Reed strong. Don't know what they're doing with Theory now that he's no longer a part of the ministry or whatever you want to call it. The group of Seth Rollins and Buddy. Also, speaking of which, AOP had been released. That kind of sucks. I think that the WWE really dropped the ball there, and we'll see them hopefully somewhere else very soon, or as soon as can be. Obviously, with non-competes. Backstage interview with Cole. He's disappointed, but the better man won today. Finn better hope that he doesn't get another shot. So obviously, it looks like they're turning Cole face almost. He's being very appreciative. He's being very humble. So we'll see what they end up doing with that. I mean, in a sense, it's like, what else does he have to do? He's beaten everybody. He's won all the titles. He's the longest reigning NXT champion. I mean, there's only so much you can do in that show. Or promotion, whatever you want to call it. Backstage promo by Mercedes. Say you go after the biggest and the baddest. If you want to be that, there will be nothing left of Rhea when she's done with her. Roderick Strong versus Killian Dane. Bobby Fish is out with him. Roddy tries to stick and move. Roddy uses Fish to get an advantage, using him as a distraction. Dane turns it around right away. Dane tripped on the apron by Fish. Dane hits a fun splash on Roderick Strong for a 2 count. Roddy with the jumping knee while Dane was being distracted. Gives him the advantage and gives him the win. It's almost like a jumping V-trigger. It looked pretty cool. I don't know if really it necessarily is a knockout blow because I've seen him do it to other people, but it is what it is. So they post-match Undisputed Era, aka just Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish are attacking Killian Dane. Drake comes out with a pipe, pushes them, sends them out. Dane has the pipe now, and Undisputed Era run away because they were beating up Drake. Sorry. He drops the pipe, goes to leave. Drake comes out, gets up, tries to get him to give him a handshake, and then just gets knocked out by Dane. He's like, I'm not having this. Back at the Garganos, we get toasting to Candice being the new champ. Tegan's, well, what about me? Like, Tegan, you had your chance. They start to food fight. Tegan is borderline laughing through this whole thing because she just, she knows how ridiculous this is. Johnny comes down, blames Tegan. She says, fuck you, dumps spaghetti on him. Candice then throws a remote at Tegan. She ducks. It goes through the TV. She runs off. And then Johnny's left to be really upset over the broken TV. Next week, we get the North American title match of I believe it's Priest and Thatch. Tag team title match. And then Io versus Shotzi, which is a non-title match. We then get the main event, the cage match between Mercedes Martinez and Rhea Ripley. Mercedes out with the kendo stick, Stone selling the beating. She's bringing tables and chairs out. Ripley attacks while she's getting the table. I like both of their gear really a lot. Ripley slamming the door on Mercedes against the cage. Mercedes takes control over Ripley as Ripley enters. Rhea fights back, gets a big boot. We get the Riptide that's countered into a Fisherman Buster. We get a power slam on the chair by Mercedes for a 2 count. Mercedes beat down with the chair. Rhea then gets the cravat, does the knees during picture-in-picture where she does the cravat. She's just doing the knee lifts to the girl's face. Mercedes with a German release on the top while she was in the Tree of Woe. That was a rough landing. So it's kind of like what Drew McIntyre does where he kind of pulls himself up and pulls the person off. So she did that in the German suplex, and Rhea just slammed against the mat. Rhea just starts chucking chairs in. Suplex by Rhea. We get an electric chair slam by Rhea. Reverse cloverleaf with one arm because she's selling her arm injury. Mercedes uses the kendo stick to break it up. Then Rhea uses it. Stone tries to climb the cage, and Rhea hits him with the kendo stick. And then just he's he's just lying there for the rest of the match, just unconscious, laying on top of the cage. Mercedes goes after Rhea while they're still fighting on the cage, does a hangman's neck breaker from the top rope onto the ring. Mercedes tries another fisherman buster through a table, while they're perched up on the second rope. Rhea fights that off, then puts her in the riptide position, puts her down through the table for the win. Stone's still unconscious throughout the entire time. And that is NXT. So there's a lot going on there, a lot of interesting stuff. We then get to Smackdown. So I actually fell asleep midway. This is actually not a bad Smackdown, but I fell asleep toward the end, so I had to go back and watch it this morning. Roman's out with Heyman. They've been being honest. They introduced Jey Uso. Jey thanks Paul. Paul says it's actually Roman. Roman says, "Don't get it twisted. I'm still gonna whip your ass like we were kids." Baron comes out. He's got the suit on with the crown and the scepter, looking like a moron. Classic case of nepotism. He hates to see when someone abuses their power. Sheamus comes out. I love his outfit. He's saying that, unfortunately I have to agree with Baron. The situation stinks. Jey says, because Sheamus says, I had no time to prepare. It says, you know what? Have time to prepare. Let's get a tag match and we whip your ass. Roman literally no-sells everything. Jey, they go to attack Jey. He ends up throwing both of them out. Roman literally does nothing, which I thought was great. Fatal 4-way tonight of Bayley to fight Bayley for a Night of Champions. Alexa, Nikki, Lacey, and Tamina. No Naomi, even though she holds a victory over Bayley just recently in a clean win. So that's just weird. I don't care personally. I'm just saying, for consistency and long-term storytelling. We then find out we're going to get an AJ versus Hardy for the Intercontinental title. We then get a shot of Sammy in the booth screaming about how they can't do that because he's the IC champ. He starts pressing buttons, goes, "What does this do?" And then shuts it off to commercial. I don't know if they were poking fun at Retribution or not. So then we get our IC title match, AJ versus Hardy. Sammy out to say that this is a sham. Pierce comes out, says, you got to leave. AJ with the cheap shot. Hardy misses the swanton. They go to break. They come back. They're both get hit into the barricade when Hardy goes off the steps. We get a whisper in the wind that barely hits. I hate that move. AJ with the Ushigoroshi for a 2 count. Styles clash gets countered. AJ goes after the knee. Goes for a phenomenal forearm. Sammy comes out, pulls his legs down for the DQ win. He then gives a haluva kick to Hardy. We then get Jey trying to talk about strategy or something, and Roman is basically not saying a word, not even paying attention to him. We then get a shot of Hardy coming up the ramp, and then he falls. They're saying it was dehydration. I thought this was so stupid. Didn't he have a knee injury? Now he's dehydrated. Apparently his pee is very yellow, so maybe it's true. Long-term story booking. AJ comes around. He's pissed off. Says he can beat both of them whenever in any kind of match. So obviously we're going to get some kind of Razor, Shawn Michaels scenario with the 2 belts in a ladder match. I hope that happens because that would be pretty cool. It just looks like it's setting it up that way. So they bring up the Brand to Brand Invitational quarterly. They recap Cesaro and Shinsuke and Street Profits from Raw. Cesaro and Shinsuke are in the Champions Lounge. Street Profits show up since they're about to leave for a match. Angelo Dawkins says, "Oh, this is the perfect time for our nonsense." It was kind of corny. They start eating all the popcorn and drinking all the champagne. So then we get Lucha House Party versus Cesaro and Shinsuke. We get a picture-in-picture interview where Kalisto says he's the leader and the titles will be theirs. And at first everyone's kind of like, huh? And then they just start doing the Lucha thing. We then get Kalisto and Grand Metalik are the ones that to compete. No Lince Dorado. Lince has some sweet Raptors-type gear on, which I thought was pretty cool. Sammy confronts Hardy backstage saying, he's like, "Oh, you need some fluids?" And he's like, "You sure it's fluids he needs?" And then they start brawling. We get Grand Metalik with 2 different spinning head scissors on Cesaro. Kalisto takes the heat for a while. Street Profits are on the Tron, and Gulick and Riddle and Gable and some other randoms are partying in the Champions Lounge. They're not paying attention to Lucha House Party. Kalisto with the surprise roll-up on Cesaro for the win. We see Bayley walking in with a chair. We get a recap of last week's attack on Sasha. Lucha House Party show up to the Champions Lounge, and they're all celebrating. Bayley out to the ring. Everyone asking about how Sasha is. No one's asking about how she is. Ding dong, hello. She loved every second of it. Full of questions right now. Everyone, and she knows it. You know, you didn't think she knew what Sasha was thinking. You know, you were just waiting for the right time to strike. I know because I was. You know, I know you were using me because I was using you. Nikki then comes out before Bayley leaves. Eventually, Bayley hits her with a chair on the ramp. We come back from break. Alexa's there with the trainers, and the trainer says, you know, I guess she's okay. You know, which is, I don't know, once again, a knock at AEW for everything that happened with Matt Hardy. So Nikki hits a splash. There was a lot of fighting in the beginning. Nikki hits a splash on the outside on Tamina and Lacey. Alexa hits, and then Alexa then hits Nikki with the Sister Abigail on the outside, which looked great. We go to break. We come back. It turns out it's now just a triple threat because during the break, Alexa in a trance goes up the ramp to the back. We get we're back from break. You know, it's now a triple threat. Lexi hits a moonsault on Tamina. Nikki breaks the count. Eventually, Nikki hits a twisting neckbreaker on Lacey. Then avoids a super kick by Tamina and then rolls her up for the win. So Nikki will be the number one contender, which is very odd because, I mean, they had a very extensive, long, you know, program with Bayley and Nikki, and obviously Nikki never won the championship, so it's like, is she going to lose again? Like, what are we doing here? But if it's some kind of interference by Alexa that allows her, you know, to lose and still save face, okay, because I do think that the money thing is keeping the title on Bayley until they finally decide to have some kind of match between the two of them where the title is on the line as well. Heavy Machinery, they're getting ready for their match, which is just actually Otis. So we get another promo with the woman getting dressed. It's a blonde woman. I mean, it's almost 2% botch. It is in what do you call it? Carmella. I mean, it's just so obvious. So the match is actually Otis versus Morrison. Miz is on commentary saying that, you know, he never did anything to deserve where he is, didn't deserve the Money in the Bank. It just fell into his hands. He's won. You know, he's main evented. So we get Otis starts hulking up. Miz with the distraction. Morris tosses the lunchbox to Miz, who runs back. We get the Caterpillar Vader Bomb combo for the win for Otis. Otis says, whoop, didn't realize my phone was on. So we get Morrison. So backstage, Otis, Tucker's like, oh, I think he went this way. And he's like, it's okay, Tucky, it's okay, Tucky. They might have the lunchbox, but they don't have the lunchbox. Whoop. Oh, light went off because this thing overheated. Wow. That overheated really bad. Hold on. Ooh-wee. Let's see if this is a little better. That's not good. Having my light in that thing, that wasn't good. That overheated. Everything's falling apart. Whoops. Okay, so he's like, you know, he has struggled opening the what do you call it? The lunchbox. I'm just like all flustered right now. You know, he opens the lunchbox. The lunchbox already opened inside the case, but there's the contract. So he says, we got this. Oh, yeah. So then Miz and Morrison are talking, and Morrison's like, well, isn't this non-transferable? And he said, yeah, but, you know, if you get it to my lawyer, there's always loopholes. We'll find it. They open it up, and it's just an apple core. Miz says he's calling in a favor, so we'll see who he calls. Firefly Funhouse. Because of Roman, something special is missing. How you handle losses like that determines the person you are. And then he does, like, instead of the now you know, it's the less you know. Pasquale the Parrot is the new member, so he opens up this box and he's like, Pasquale, say something inspirational. And obviously nothing. We get technical difficulties. We come back. He's like, I probably should have cut holes in the box. So apparently he killed Pasquale the Parrot. Vince comes in yelling, says he can't handle the Funhouse on his own anymore. Says that he is installing a special counsel. So we get Wobbly Walrus, which is a Heyman spoof. And then we get, obviously, you know, this is such good shit. And then obviously Brady's like, oh no, and it's a to be continued, which I thought was pretty funny. So then we get our main event, Roman and Jay versus Corbin and Sheamus. Not much here. Roman doesn't even come out. Jay's hitting most of the offense, sending both of them into commentary. We get Jay, sends Baron over commentary. Apparently, Roman finally comes out. Roman does a blind tag after Jay hits the splash on Sheamus. He waits for Sheamus to get up. He hits the spear. They win, and then that's it. So obviously the two of them are kind of like, kind of looking at each other a little weird. Roman, you can tell, just doesn't give a you-know-what. And that's Smackdown, and that is this week in WWE. As always, I give my match of the week, and that obviously has to go to the NXT Championship match between Finn Balor and Adam Cole, just putting on an absolute clinic. This is the kind of matches you see when NXT is at its best. It was the right move because you weren't going to put the title back on Cole after everything that they did. He's had the title for so long. Finn needed it because Finn needed direction at this point. He's basically just been in these nonsense feuds or getting beat up by people and just not doing anything about it. So it was a right move. I really like to see what ends up happening. Hopefully he holds on to this through Survivor Series, and then they do a triple threat and they add him into it. Obviously they didn't do that last year, which I thought was pretty stupid. So that's everything that happened in WWE this week. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Social media is down there. A link to the AEW will be here at the end of the video. Obviously, I haven't been doing post-credit scenes. I've been really tired, really busy. So I'm going to try and get back to those as soon as I can. I know how much you guys love them. So as always, be safe, love each other, and bye now.